Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here, your source for gaming, tech, emulation, and open source news. Let's get started. Alright, we'll kick things off with some very big news for emulation, and arguably incredibly huge news for emulation on iOS. RetroArch has been approved and is on the App Store. On top of that, it's available for iPad, iPhone, and Apple TV. For those who may be unaware, RetroArch stands for Subscribe to Mr. Sujano, and it's a front end for a whole bunch of different emulators. It contains a whole bunch of different emulator cores. Now, while it may not be as pretty as something like Delta, at the same time here, RetroArch is a powerhouse. Moving on, and we're still talking about emulation on iOS, and another huge win for emulation, and that's PPSSPP. PPSSPP is officially on the App Store. So the developer says, after nearly 12 years, PPSSPP has finally been approved for the iOS App Store. Thanks to Apple for relaxing their policies, allowing retro games console emulators on the store. Now, there is something worth pointing out. They say here, this initial App Store release of PPSSPP has some limitations compared to the earlier unofficial builds. Vulkan support through Molten VK is not yet enabled. Magic Keyboard, iPad Keyboard is not supported. The JIT recompiler is not supported, and I don't think it ever will be. And Retro Achievements is temporarily disabled. In addition to all of that, PPSSPP Gold version is also headed to the App Store. There is literally no difference between the Gold version and the free version, just the Gold version has a different logo and the money goes to support the developer. Next up, we're quickly talking about Back 4 Blood, and it appears that Warner Brothers has removed Denuvo from this game. If we head on over to their Steam page and scroll down, there is no more mention of Denuvo here. And taking a look over on SteamDB, and it's confirmed, there is no more Denuvo on Back 4 Blood. It was removed about 10 hours ago, at least at the time of filming. Moving on, and we're talking about the Xbox 360. Not emulation, but the actual Xbox 360. And if you've got an Xbox 360 and plan to pick up a game on their online store, you may want to do so sooner rather than later, and there is a sale on right now. I mean, this comes right from the Xbox website. Price reductions available now on the digital Xbox 360 store, closing July 29th. They also say it's important to know that this change will not affect your ability to play Xbox 360 games or DLC that you've already purchased. Xbox 360 game content previously purchased will still be available to play. I'm not necessarily sure on how long you'll be able to download it for, but at the same time, that may be a question for later on. And if we take a look at the discounts, they are pretty significant. So if you've got a 360 and you are curious about this one, I'll drop a link to this page in the description below and feel free to check it out. Next up, we're quickly talking about Assassin's Creed Shadows, and this game is up for pre-order on Best Buy, and a lot of people have identified one big thing on this game's cover art. And that's this box right here. It's actually a small box. So if we zoom in on the box, it says internet required to install the game. So for those collectors out there, I wouldn't really say the disc is going to hold a whole lot of value. And on a quick side note, there's an absolutely fantastic website called doesitplay.org. I'll drop a link to it in the description below, and I do recommend checking it out. If you're into game collecting, I would argue the information this site provides is pivotal. I mean, take a look at Devil May Cry 5 Special Edition on the PS5. You don't need the internet at all to play this game, and you don't need to download anything. Whereas the physical version of Forza Motorsport is completely useless without the internet. Next up, we're talking about the Stop Killing Games campaign. And if you remember, this campaign was started because of what happened with The Crew, when Ubisoft basically made the game unplayable for anyone who had previously purchased it. Well, since then, there's been a big update with some very unfortunate results for the campaign. There's an article over on GameIndustry.biz, and I'll drop a link to it in the description below. The title here, UK Government Responds to Stop Killing Games Campaign. There is no requirement in UK law preventing publishers from rendering older games unplayable. Now, if reading is not your thing and you'd rather watch a video instead, I don't blame you, and I'll drop a link to a Cursed Farms video in the description below, and I do recommend checking it out. It's a 16-minute analysis and description of what exactly has happened and what are the next steps. There appear to be a few snippets of information, and this one in specific that may open the door to further discussion. I'll read you this one, and you tell me your thoughts about it in the comments below. The CPRs require information to consumers to be clear and correct, and prohibit commercial practices which, through false information or misleading omissions, cause the average consumer to make a different choice. For example, to purchase goods or services they would not otherwise have purchased. The regulations prohibit commercial practices which omit or hide information which the average consumer needs to make an informed choice, and prohibits traders from providing material information in an unclear, unintelligible, ambiguous, or untimely manner. In my opinion, I would argue The Crew and a whole bunch of games are problematic because of this statement. There was no expiry date on the game when it was up for sale. When someone selects Buy Now, they may assume they can play this game forever. And if there was an expiry date, it may turn some people away. And on the flip side, the marketing behind this one to purchase the game is very different from renting the game. And if it said rent now instead of purchase now, that may also change some buyers' opinions about it. Let me know your thoughts about all of this in the comments below. Next up, we're talking about something that's super cool, but maybe not something to get too excited about. And that is Chrome OS running on an Android device. I'll drop a link to this video from Android Authority in the description below, and I do recommend checking it out. The disappointing part about this is that Google says Chrome OS was just a fun proof of concept. So there's zero guarantee as to what happens next, if they're going to entertain actually making this a thing or if that's just going to be it. So the whole purpose of this was to show off virtualization technology. I'll drop a link to the article in the description below, and I do recommend checking it out. And last up here, this may be a big one. We're talking about a very popular website, Vim's Lair. And it appears Vim's Lair may be in some serious trouble. So Vim says, sad news tonight, Nintendo of America has requested for 717 games and their images to be removed from the vault. Each download plus its box art and screenshots are no longer available. And then Vim says, it seems this may be the work of DMCA trolls filing fake notices. In the meantime, the media will remain offline for now. So I guess on this one, we're going to have to wait and see what happens. I would assume if it is trolls, then Vim's Lair will be back up. And if it is Nintendo, then Vim's Lair is probably going to remain down. And to be honest with you, for the thumbnail of this video, I wasn't sure whether or not to smile because of the huge win for emulation on iOS devices or to frown. Anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and no fluff. We talked about a bunch today. Let me know your thoughts about absolutely any of it in the comments below. If you liked this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button, check out my other videos. Don't tempt fate, save your state.